Good morning, everyone. Today we have the 2023 Mitigation Resilient Infrastructure Program, also known as MIT-RIPP, and the 23-24 CDBG-DR Infrastructure, also known as DR Infra, and Mitigation Resilient Infrastructure and Planning Program, also known as MIT-RIPP with 2 Ps workshop, today on September 10th, 2025. This presentation is provided by HCD Representatives Christopher Bringold, Jeremy Tatton, Catherine Hernandez-Browner, and our HCD management for these programs is Patrice Clemens, Branch Chief, Julie Axe, Infrastructure Section Chief, Mariah Cornwell, which is the Mitigation and Infrastructure Manager, and then we have Jennifer Carnamola, who's the Mitigation and Planning and Public Services Manager. Just a few rules for housekeeping. All participant lines have been muted upon entry. We will use the chat to submit questions. FAQ sheet will be released following the presentation, and we will encourage you to visit the HCD website for more information regarding the Infrastructure and Resilient Infrastructure Program on the California Department of Housing and Community Development. Here's a quick look at today's agenda. We'll start with an overview of the programs and HUD requirements, then move into application resources and the award process. We built in time for Q&A throughout, and we'll also have time at the end for additional questions. The full presentation should take about 60 to 90 minutes. Our goals today are to help you understand the programs and federal requirements, become familiar with the application process, and share resources to support your application. We also want to make sure you know how to access technical assistance if you need help determining project eligibility or navigating the application. All these programs are funded through CDBG-DR, Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Funds. These funds are allocated by HUD to help communities recover from federally declared disasters, especially in low-income areas. They're designed to fill unmet needs that other federal programs haven't addressed and must supplement, not replace, or other funding sources. Let's talk about roles. HCD, as the HUD grantee, is responsible for designating and implementing the programs, reviewing applications, and providing technical assistance. As eligible applicants, your role is to submit eligible projects, enter into agreements with HCD, and ensure your project or projects are compliant and complete on time. You'll also be responsible for monthly reporting and tracking milestones. On this slide, you will see a table that shows the eligible applicants and their allocations. If you're under the disaster 4683, you only received mitigation funds. If you're under the disasters 4699 or 4758, you will receive both disaster recovery and mitigation allocations. We'll go into more details about what each type of funding can be used for in the next few slides. I will now turn it over to Jeremy to give an overview of the programs and their requirements. Jeremy?
Thank you, Chris. Now we'll begin diving into the specific programs and their requirements. We'll start with a cross-program overview then break down each program type individually. A few key things apply across all programs. Projects must align with local and regional hazard mitigation plans and be completed by mid-2030. There's no cap on individual project awards. All 2023/2024 programs are combined into one solicitation and use the same application portal. Each project requires a separate application, and HCD is available to provide technical assistance throughout this process. Let's break down the three program types. First, CDBG DR infrastructure is only available to the 2023/2024 applicants and must have a tieback to the qualifying disaster. Second, RIPP is available to both 2023 and the 2023/2024 applicants and must meet HUD's definition of mitigation. No tieback requirements. Third is mitigation planning, and it's only for the 2023 and 2024 applicants and also must meet the mitigation definition. 2023/2024 applicants can choose how to split their mitigation funds between infrastructure and planning. For DR infrastructure projects, there are several key requirements. Projects must tie back to the disaster. They must meet a HUD national objective, either LMI or urgent need. They must be a HUD eligible activity, such as construction or rehabilitation of public facilities. They must serve a HUD identified most impact and distressed MID area, or MID. Projects can be standalone or used as match for other federal programs such as FEMA. Tieback can be direct, such as physical damage, or indirect, like a population shifts that strain infrastructure. Documentation is required and can include inspection reports, insurance claims, or photos. If you're submitting a FEMA Public Assistance Match project, tieback is already established and no additional documentation is needed. Mitigation projects do not require tieback, but must meet HUD's definition of mitigation for reducing long-term disaster risks. Infrastructure projects must meet a national objective and be HUD eligible. Planning projects don't need to meet a national objective, but they must result in a plan submitted to HCD. Please note that planning funds cannot be used for project-specific designs or specs. Here are some examples of eligible infrastructure projects. For flood controls, we have levees, flood walls, and channel improvements. For stormwater management, detention ponds, culverts, bioswales. These are just examples. If you're unsure about a project's eligibility, please reach out for technical assistance. Additional examples include elevating critical infrastructure, floodproofing public buildings, road and bridge improvements for flood resiliency, sewer system upgrades. These types of projects can fall under both DR and mitigation, depending on the context. Planning projects can include hazard mitigation plans, resilience focused updates to existing plans, and feasibility studies. What's not eligible is engineering or design for specific projects or implementation cost. These projects give future resilient efforts, not prepare for construction. Now we'll shift to some of the cross-cutting federal requirements that apply to all infrastructure projects. These are important to consider early in your planning and application process. All infrastructure projects require a NEPA environmental review before construction. For match projects, HCD can adopt another agency's review. For standalone projects, you must complete the review and request a release of funds from HCD. Planning projects are exempt but still require an exemption form. HCD can provide technical assistance on procurement and environmental review if needed. Let's talk about labor requirements. Davis-Bacon ensures prevailing wages are paid on construction projects. Section 3 promotes job and training opportunities for low and moderate income individuals. These apply to all infrastructure projects unless your match project was completed before October 7th, 2025 for the 2023 applicants or June 20th, 2025 for the 2023/2024 applicants. If your project is in progress or hasn't started, these requirements must be included. HCD can provide TA if you need help documenting compliance for work related or already done. All infrastructure projects must meet a HUD national objective, either the low and moderate income, LMI, or urgent need. 70% of HUD's total grants must benefit LMI populations, so LMI projects will be prioritized. A project meets the LMI threshold if 51% or more of the service area population is LMI. Even if your project doesn't meet the 51%, the LMI portion of the budget can still count towards the overall benefit. HCD will collect LMI data for all infrastructure projects. This table outlines the 4 national objective categories and their documentation requirements. LMI area benefit is the most common and requires service area boundaries, census data, and proof the area is primary residential. LMI limited clientele is for projects serving specific groups like seniors or homeless individuals. LMI housing, while rarely used for infrastructure, still applies if the project supports residential structures. Urgent need requires a resolution stating no other funds are available. If you're unsure which applies, we recommend starting with the area benefit and reaching out for technical assistance if needed. In order to understand what national objective an infrastructure project will meet, we first need to determine the project's service area. Determining the service area is critical for documenting LMI eligibility. You must ask yourself, what is the area that will benefit from the project? Consider the nature, size, and location of the activity, as well as barriers like geography, cost, or transportation. Also think about whether similar services already exist nearby. Your service area doesn't have to match census boundaries exactly, but it must be reasonable and justifiable. HUD uses data from the census and the American Community Survey. This data combines income and family size to determine LMI statuses. In cities, data is organized by block groups. In rural areas, it's organized by places. Use the most appropriate data set for your project's location when determining LMI eligibility. These resources will help you determine and document your service area. HCD's Grants Administration Manual, Appendix G on the service areas, HUD's Guide to the National Objectives, and HUD's LMI Mapping Tool. We strongly encourage you to review these resources early in your planning process. Now we'll walk through how to use the HUD LMI Mapping Tool. This tool helps you define and document your project's service area. Start by entering your locality into the search bar. We're going to use Sacramento as our example. Once you've searched your locality, choose the appropriate geography. Use block groups for urban areas and use places for rural areas. Avoid using overly broad areas like counties unless the project is truly countywide. Next, you will draw the service area. This will be informed by the questions posed earlier in the presentation, the experts who have weighed in, and the HCD/HUD guidance linked. Note that you must be able to explain and justify the service area as part of your application to HCD. It should not be arbitrary. Click on the third icon down on the left-hand side, and then click on the select box. There are different options you can use to select the service area. In this case, we'll use the circle option. Here's an example of selected block groups. This visual will be part of your documentation. You'll also need to export the data and print the map, which we'll cover in the next slide. Once you've selected your service area, export the LMI data. Click the four dots next to the selected layer and choose Export to CSV. This file will provide the LMI percentages for each block group or place, which you'll use to document your project's eligibility. Next, print your map to PDF. Click the printer icon on the left-hand side, rename the map to include your project's name, and hit print. This map, along with the CSV file, will be part of your application documentation. If you need help using this tool, HCD is available to provide technical assistance. Now we'll shift into the application preparation portion of this presentation. We'll walk through the application timeline, technical assistance options, and the documents you'll need to prepare. Applications will open on October 14th, 2025, and will close on February 28th, 2026. Please do not wait to submit applications to the final day. Take advantage of the application window and get started on your application as soon as possible. Technical assistance is being offered in support of potential applicants during the application process. When seeking answers to questions about the program, please take advantage of the program policies and procedures located in the solicitation files and on the HCD site. If you cannot resolve your questions using the policies and procedures, we encourage you to request a TA session with HCD staff. Due to capacity and volume of request, technical assistance hours may be limited. Therefore, session requests will be granted on a first-come, first-served basis by appointments only. TA sessions are on Tuesdays from 3 to 4 p.m. and Thursdays from 10 to 11 a.m. To request a TA session, please email a completed TA request form. Our email address is also linked on this slide. The form is also available in the solicitation files and on the program webpage. When submitting the request, please include any project information that would be helpful to staff preparing for your TA session. All application resources are available in the Grants Network under the Files tab. This includes templates, forms, and guidance documents. We recommend downloading and reviewing these files as soon as possible, especially items that require routing and signatures like authorizing resolutions. All applicants must submit an executed authorizing resolution with their application on the applicable template provided by HCD. The templates can be found in the solicitation files and on each program's website. The authorizing resolution states that your governing body approves the submission of project applications to HCD and is willing to enter into a grant agreement with HCD if the applications are approved. As a result, this needs to be completed when you're submitting your application. If you're applying as a local city or county government, please use the authorizing resolution template for jurisdictions. If you're applying as a nonprofit organization, please use the authorizing resolution template for organizations. Keep in mind that this would be for planning only. If you're partnering with a tribal entity, you must submit your organization or that jurisdiction's executed authorizing resolution and an executed authorizing resolution for the tribe to ensure tribal consent has been given. HCD recommends applicants prepare and route their authorizing resolution as soon as possible to have the resolution executed prior to their application submissions. Applicants must also prepare the required payee tax forms. These forms provide HCD with the necessary information to eventually allow you to draw down funds on approved projects. You will need the fiscal tax verification form for jurisdictions and a standard 204 payee data form for nonprofits and other organizations. These forms are required to set up your organization to receive funds. The application, certification, and statement of assurance must be completed and signed by your authorized representative. Page 2 through 6 must be initialed, and page 7 must be signed and dated. This document confirms your organization's authority to apply and commit to program requirements. Like we mentioned earlier in this presentation, eligible applicants may work with a secondary subrecipient to assist in the implementation of proposed projects. A secondary subrecipient is a local government, special district, tribal entity, or similar organization that helps implement a project. Eligible applicants could submit projects on behalf of these entities, but the applicant remains responsible for supporting and compliance, for reporting and compliance. For example, a county can submit a project on behalf of a city within its boundaries. If you're working with a secondary subrecipient, you'll need to upload a monitoring plan and agreement before entering into a grant agreement with HCD. Now I'll hand it over to Chris, who will walk us through the application itself, what's required, and how to complete each section. Chris?
Thank you, Jeremy. So a complete application includes a profile form, the main application with required attachments, a project budget and narrative, a legislative form, and a due diligence questionnaire. It's your responsibility to ensure everything is complete and accurate. Incomplete applications will be returned, but you can resubmit once corrected. Both the 2023 and the 23-24 applications are broken into sections for easy navigation. All questions are numbered to allow you to have clear reference points as you move through the application. We will use the next few slides to discuss the various application sections and the types of information you'll be expected to provide. Each section includes help text. Please be sure to read those instructions prior to inputting your responses. If you have questions as you proceed through the application, you may request TA support from HCD. We will discuss how to submit a TA request later in the presentation. To begin, we will discuss the general information section. In this section, you will be asked for the project name, location, and information related to your organization submitting the application. Both the 23 and 24 applicants may work with a secondary subrecipient to assist them with the implementation of the proposed projects. This relationship includes a transfer or expenditure of the CDBG funds. For the secondary subrecipients, the application will ask whether a monitoring plan and or agreement has been established. If so, Those completed documents should be uploaded to the application. Both will be required prior to entering into an agreement with HCD. This section of the application confirms your project meets eligible criteria. It must be a HUD eligible activity. It must be located in or benefit a HUD identified mid area. It must meet a national objective, either LMI or urgent need. You'll also need to upload a map showing the project's location in relation to the service area and the mid. Here you will describe the project's scope of work and timeline. For infrastructure projects, milestones will be included in your agreement. For planning projects, provide the number of days or months to reach each milestone. You will also select at least one performance measure and provide a project outcome. There's space to upload supplemental information, but it's optional. Finally, there are two budgets required to be completed in the budget section of the applications. The total project budget is where you will list out all funding sources and project costs for the entire project. The total project budget must be completed using the Excel template found in the solicitation files. The grants network budget must also be completed specifically for costs requested through CDBG/DR funding. The information entered into the grants network budget worksheet will ultimately populate your grant award in the grants management system. This budget should capture two line items, one for activity costs and one for activity delivery costs. When planning your project budgets, please consider the activity delivery costs of managing the award. HCD requires monthly activity and financial reports beginning once the agreement is executed until closeout. Monthly reporting is a universal requirement that will take staff time and effort over the course of the project. So please take that into account when calculating your budget. On this slide, you will see an example of a total project budget template. It's an Excel file that helps you estimate costs across all funding sources. Be sure to follow the instructions included in the template before uploading it with your application. To access the grants network budget, go to the bottom of the application homepage. Click the three bars next to budget. Under the actions column, select edit budget. You'll enter both activity costs and activity delivery costs here. Only include costs you're requesting through this grant. The budget summary section will auto-populate as you enter data. Use the buttons at the top to save changes, which is the blue button, discard changes, which is the red button, or export to Excel, which is the green button. Make sure to save your work frequently to avoid losing any data. When entering your budget, only use the activity and the activity delivery sections. Do not use the general administration, other, or program income sections. These are not applicable for this program. Keep your budget entries simple and focused on eligible costs. To enter costs, you'll first need to create a table within the budget section. Click on the blue budget category name, for example, activity, then click on the gear icon and select Add Table. This will allow you to input your line items for that category. While using the total project budget, submitting using the Excel template will have all the project costs details. The grants network budget should only include a per cost category line item. The single cost category line item should be the total CDBG-DR funds requested for that category, either the activity or activity delivery. You do not need to line item the costs that make up those totals. The example shown here reflects a project with a total activity cost of $10,000. In this case, the details for the $10,000 in the activity cost would be included in the total project budget. When entering the line item costs in the table, only use the costs column to enter a single figure. All costs must be entered as a direct cost. If the project will require indirect costs in the budget, that detail must be included in the total project budget. And supporting documentation for the indirect cost rate must be provided. At the bottom of the budget page, you will find the budget narrative section. Use this space to explain the costs you're requesting through a CDBG-DR. You have up to 8,000 characters, and this section must be saved separately from the rest of the budget. Be sure to clearly describe how the funds will be used. Finally, in order to complete the application, the applicant must agree to the certification statement included at the end of the due diligence form. The certification statement confirms that the applicant will comply with requirements, that the application is true, accurate, and complete, and that the applicant understands that failure to comply with the requirements or intentionally inputting false information may result in disqualification. Finally, the statement encourages applicants to allow plenty of time for submission, as late submissions will not be considered. The application requires the applicant to enter their name in acceptance of the certification statement. Now we'll walk through the final steps of the application process and share some helpful resources. This will include tips for saving your work and submitting your application successfully. One of the most important takeaways about the application process is when drafting your applications in the Grants Network system, use the Save Draft option until all required questions and forms are complete. Please protect your work. Save your draft often. The Save Draft option allows you to come back to saved work to complete and review prior to submitting. Once all documentation is complete, we strongly recommend you review your application fully before submitting. Applicants may use the application requirements checklist located in the solicitation files to ensure your application meets and addresses all eligible threshold criteria upon submission. All applications must be submitted by February 28th, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Once you've completed and reviewed your application, click the green Submit button and you'll receive a confirmation email with a time and date stamp. Keep this for your records. And again, don't wait until the last minute to submit. So that wraps up the application process overview. And now we're going to share some key resources that can support you as you prepare to submit the application. This will include links to the policies and procedures and technical assistance options. As a reminder, critical application resources and document forms to be completed prior to the application submission can be accessed here in the Grants Network system in the Solicitation Files tab indicated by the arrow shown here on the slide. HCD recommends applicants review and download these documents as soon as possible and begin preparing a draft application, particularly the required documentation that will be needed to route and execute the application. Any questions about the solicitation files should be directed to HCD staff through our appropriate communication channels. On this slide, we have some key resources to support your application. We have the HCD resources, which are the action plans, policies and procedures, and the grant administration manual. We want to draw your attention in particular, to the program policies and procedures, which will be your best resource for understanding what requirements for the projects you will be submitting and making sure that they comply with the cross-cutting requirements as a subrecipient you must adhere to. HCD resources include the Universal Notice, HUD Exchange Training, and LMI data tools. These links are especially helpful for understanding national objectives, eligible activities, and income survey guidelines. We recommend bookmarking these pages and to refer to them as needed throughout the application process. If HCD cannot resolve your inquiries directly through email, we will also provide a one-on-one technical assistance or TA to applicants and subrecipients through the program. Our object is our objective is to support applicants' understanding of the program requirements to facilitate the confidence and submission of project applications. One-on-one TA sessions will be made available through appointments only. When you submit your TA request, please identify if it is for an infrastructure or planning project. We will also have webinar resources including FAQ sheets, presentation recording, and this exact slide deck. We will be made available to all applicants within 10 days after the presentation. If you have trouble accessing any of these, please reach out and we will make sure that the information is made available to you. For help navigating the grants network system, here's some additional resources: a recorded webinar, a user manual, a training library, and contact information for technical support. These are great tools to share with your team, especially if they are new to the system. Just remember, grants network support can help with system issues, but for program-specific questions, contact HCD directly. If you have any follow-up questions, please email dr-infra@hcd.ca.gov. The FAQ and slide deck will be emailed to attendees and posted online within 10 business days. We appreciate your time and participation, and best of luck with your application, and we look forward to working with you.